Hi, and welcome back to the FreeFormKnits YouTube channel. I'm Haxann Evers, and Knit and Crochet who's frequent ways of crafting and led to the world to design. All the places you can find me are listed right down below this video. This is my channel where I talk about knitting, crochet, designs, all the fun crafty stuff. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. This is podcast episode 50 something. I don't know. I never do. I actually skipped a week of filming podcasts just because I felt like I didn't have a lot to show. But now I do have a lot to show. And once again, in true fashion, my corner of crafts is a mess. There's stuff everywhere, so I need to sort through it and reorganize it and plan projects for the week. But yeah, that's where we are. When are we not in a mess of crafty stuff? But it's all fun yarn stuff, so I'm just gonna jump right into finished objects. I think I have a finished object or two. Do I? I actually don't know. It's a mess. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if I showed these. I think I showed these in the last episode. This finished pair of socks. I don't remember. This will be a pattern coming soon. It's this great, easy texture. I love a good, mindless garter texture. It's so much fun. And it's a toe up, done with my shortcut heel, done toe up. And actually I have news on that pattern, the vanilla shortcut heel toe up sock recipe. But these might have been done, they might not have been, I don't remember, but in any case, I did get these done. So if I'm showing them again, I apologize, but they are complete. And we're just gonna, I said we'll start with finished objects, but I actually don't know if I have any finished objects other than that. I kind of went on a casting on spree. Well, not too bad. It's just, this is my basket that I take around to my various locations around the house, and it's just full of stuff. So I'm just gonna weed through it to do this podcast episode because I have no idea where I'm at in anything. I did actually pick up this work in progress. This is a vanilla sock, DK, and I think the last time you saw it, I was just on the leg. I did turn the heel. I have been wanting to get back into sock knitting. If you are subscribed to my channel, then you might have seen my video before this was a kind of tutorial, kind of just a talk through of how I plan out socks with coordinating heels, toes, and cuffs, and some tips to do that. And so I bought a bunch of self-striping yarn, fingering weight sock yarn, and I wanted to knit with that. So this kind of got put back on the back burner because I just didn't want to work on a DK sock. I wanted a fingering weight sock. But I did turn the heel of this, and honestly, I really just work on this when I have like a school lecture I'm listening to. Just nice to have something mindless, and the yarn is all twisted around the cord, the hazards of working magic loop. So I'm not really bothered that this isn't getting done. I know it will, and it's just great to work on in those moments. This yarn is Baby Bee Sweet Delight Prince in the watercolors colorway. It's just a blend of polyamide and acrylic, right? Yeah, 60% acrylic, 40% polyamide. Super pretty. And that's just kind of been lingering. But it did make me want to make socks, and I actually have definitely a half finished object. So let's find that. Here it is. It's not even in its project bag. Everything's a mess. So I bought Patton's Croy, and this is what I have left of the first skein, or the only skein. They had new colorways for Patton's Croy self-striping, at least that I've seen, and they're new to me. And this colorway is Midnight Orchid. That's the little label here. Patton's Croy sock. 50-gram balls, a blend of 25% wool. So no, I just looked at the label and I can't even remember. It is 75% wool and 25% nylon. It's kind of a thicker fingering weight, but it's pretty nice. It's a great sturdy sock. And this is the first one, how it knit up so nicely. And I used this dark purple mini for the cuff, the heel, and the toe. Did my garter stitch shortcut heel. I did this one cuff down, and I think actually I picked a different mini than what I said I was going to pick in the tutorial. because after the tutorial, my craft room being a mess, I just kind of pushed everything aside, and they kind of just rolled together. Like I plucked them out of the basket, trying to remember what I set aside, and they just looked really nice together. So I always, you know, no plan was set in stone in that tutorial, but I'm pretty sure I allocated this mini to a different sock, but I really like it in this one, so it's okay. And I started the second one, and I'm at the heel. I just turned the heel, actually. I'm on the foot. And these socks, they were going to match perfectly. That was my plan, because it was very easy for me to match them perfectly. But for some reason, I knew just how much yarn I wind off from making the first one. I knew I would have to wind some off to get to the right color repeat. But for some reason, I was convinced, and I know why now. I knew I started with a green stripe when I did this one. As you can see, there is a green stripe. I knew I had to wind off a green stripe to start at the beginning of a color repeat for my skein of yarn. In this sock, there are 2 greens. So when I made the second one and I wound off to the green stripe, I also wound off the white stripe because I did not double check. I always double check like everything when I knit. Like I count stitch counts 100 times over because I'm like afraid of like not decreasing enough or whatever. But for some reason I did not double check, and so they are exactly 1 stripe off. They would have matched perfectly. So it's really only like 2 rounds. These are really short stripes, so they kind of catch up to each other. If I can show you, like this one starts, this purple stripe starts right after the heel. This started just like a little bit before the heel. You're not going to be able to tell when you're wearing the socks, and honestly I'll probably forget eventually. It did really bother me in the moment. I was like so annoyed at myself because I realized it only a few rounds away from turning the heel. Like I was looking at it like something's different and then I literally, it's my own fault. It bothered me so much, but it's fine. I'm not whipping back. So, and I really do like when you do contrasting heel stores and cuffs for really any pair of sock. It doesn't really matter, like the contrast, these matching kind of makes the rest of it match. So it's all okay, but that was a fun little mishap. I'm really happy that I'm making socks again. Like just doing these kind of shorty vanilla socks, getting back into sock knitting is really fun. I love making socks. I just don't know. I don't know where my sock mojo went. I don't know. But I will admit, I watch Julianne Knitter of the Twin Stitches Design Podcast, and she has set like this kind of slightly crazy goal of making a full box of socks for both her and her husband. So I think she wants to make like 24 whole pairs of socks, 12 for each of them, but she's like aiming for 6 pairs for each. And hearing that kind of ambitious goal kind of like inspired me. Like I'm really the only, everyone in my family kind of has socks enough. I mean, they always appreciate a new pair, but I just don't feel like pressured to make any, especially with how difficult it is for me to get fingering weight yarn. But I do like the idea of making a box of socks, so these will probably go in a little box of socks whenever my sock stash or one of my family members' sock stash runs out. Yeah, I actually don't have any more of my Patons Croy socks because I've went through them all. Patons Croy yarn is pretty good, hard wearing sock yarn. So that is a work in progress, and I dug out this project bag. I found a bunch of my project bags. Still haven't made new project bags yet. I really want to do that, just not the right time for it. But this is in that. Pretty bunnies. So that is a work in progress I have been working on very steadily. There are really only 3 works in progress I've been working on steadily. Everything else, I feel like I have a bunch of whips cast on, and it's probably only because I have like a bunch of sweaters cast on. I have not done the sleeves for my basic tee, I think it's just called. Basic tee pullover, I don't know. I was going to put sleeves on that, but it's just sitting aside because I just don't want to pick it up and do it. But I am working on sleeves of a sweater, and this is not a new cast on. You've seen this before. It is this circular yoke, and I put a ton of work into it. I not only finished the body, but I did a sleeve. and I have picked up for another sleeve. So all that's left to do on this is this other sleeve and a little bit of a neckline, and then it's done. And it needs a really good block. So the lace pattern I did is one of my favorites. It's ever since I first did it, it's been one of my favorite stitch patterns. I don't quite recall what it's called, but you probably have seen it in something. I did have to rework it a little bit just for my stitch count to get these columns of plain knitting in between. They had to be a little bit bigger than you might normally see, but it's so pretty and it's so much fun to make, and it's such an easy to read stitch pattern. Like, I don't necessarily have the rows memorized, but I can see my work where each like yarn over or decrease goes. So simple. And I did do a garter hem just so it wouldn't roll. I should have gone down a needle size for it. I did not go down a needle size for any of my edgings because I usually don't, but I do plan on going down a needle size or two for this edging. I will probably just do a round or two of garter, or 4 rounds of garter, 2 garter ridges for the neckline. I did do just ribbing for the sleeve cuff. I really like my decrease rate for the sleeve. I think I did on the 14th round I decreased. So I'm always hesitant about sleeve decreases because I hate ending up with so much fabric here and then it, you know, disappearing down here. I like it to be even and not to be so much extra fabric, and I think I did a good job of achieving that. So this is a pattern. I just followed the increase rates for the, I never remember, Ann Budd's book of top-down sweater construction, I think, something like that. I believe it's by Ann Budd. And I do my own little hacking for like the increase rounds because I don't like having too deep of a yoke, just the way I'm built, and I need my necklines nice and wide. So kind of use that as like a jump starting point, and then I hack it myself to do different things with. I did do something different. I might have talked about this with the last rounds of increases, because how I do to achieve this yoke depth, to not be too deep, I play with the numbers and play with that last round of increases, and the part where you like cast on some for the underarm of the sleeve. I always fiddle with that so that I still get the circumference I need for my bust, but not too big of a sleeve for my arms because I've got Lego arms, so just like stuck onto my body. No shaping going on over here. And to make up for that increase rate, I did some increases when I joined back in that first round after separating the sleeves. So I was a little worried about how it would lay, if it would look like pleated or anything. I don't think I did that many increases, but still. But it looks pretty good and I'm happy with it. I've tried this on several times. It looks really good. I am hopeful that blocking will get a little bit more length out of it because I was really worried about how long it was going to be. I didn't want to make it too long, but I think it could have been a little bit longer. I hesitated when to do the lace. But I'm happy with it, and it needs a good block. I think it will look beautiful. It'll be nice to have a completed sweater. I have all these big ideas of sweaters I want to complete for the fall and winter seasons, and I just keep casting them on and not finishing them. So I'm really happy that this is so close to being done and it will be finished. It'll be a sweater quantity out of my stash. It'll be just a nice completion. And this is all like the finished yarn from the body, finished yarn from my first sleeve. Yeah, they're not attached. This isn't like a full ball. I just was winding up the extra bits because I just took a new skein for the sleeve. I didn't want to do having to keep attaching for the sleeve. So this is all little bits of this same yarn wrapped together. I believe this is my last skein. The yarn I'm using for this is Yarn Bee Must Be Merino in the blush colorway. It's a blend of merino, acrylic, and nylon, and it's super soft. And the sweaters I make out of it, I have one sweater in this type of yarn, and it's really warm and I want more of it, which is why I have another sweater quantity of this. My blue garter stitch sweater, if you've been watching, is done out of this yarn. That's also another project I have not touched. Of course not. And these are the needles I intend to use for the collar. I think they are 5s because I'm using a 7 for the body. So that's all there is to say about this project. It's too big to fit in a project bag, so it's now just kind of thrown into my basket here. And the next whip, I have stitch markers lying everywhere, is in this bag, and it is a crochet shawl. I really want to make a bigger crochet project, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of wanting to cast on a crochet cardigan again, or a sweater actually. I want it to be a pullover. But I did want to make this crochet shawl. So a while ago I showed you a shawl done out of minis. It's probably not here. I could reach for it. No, I couldn't. It's covered. Never mind. I did a shawl out of minis I had, and this really simple texture, this asymmetrical shawl, and I wanted to use that same texture on a triangle shaped shawl. So here is it so far. Super pretty. This is one of the shawl shapes in my 4 crochet shawl constructions. I have free video tutorials here on YouTube on how to do each of those shawl constructions, as well as written instructions are available in my Ravelry Shop. Yeah, it's just a super simple texture. You can kind of see on the other side too. I think it's reversible, this texture. You know, you get a little blips of the color with the from post double crochets, but it's okay. It's just super nice. Super simple repeat. I have not cut my yarn for the colors. You can kind of see it on this side of the work, the floats, but not so much on the other side. It's going really well. I haven't worked on it in a few days actually, maybe just one day. I don't know, I didn't pick it up yesterday. Now the yarns I'm using are Yarn Bee Sweet Delight. Are they both prints? One is Yarn Bee Sweet Delight, one is Yarn Bee Sweet Delight Prints. This is in the paper mache colorway, and this is in the ballet slippers. I love these two colors and wanted to use them, so I'm using them in this shawl. I am tempted, I think I'm going to like flip, actually I don't know, maybe not. I was going to say I was going to flip the colors, but I don't think you'll get the same type of dynamic. Like I don't think it'll matter if I do. I don't think it'll change anything by having like suddenly the pink be in these textured bars on this side. I don't think it'll be noticeable enough. Maybe I'll change my mind, I don't know. So it's going really well. I'll probably have the same edging as the other shawl I did. I do want to work on this. I want to work on so many things, but again, I just feel like I have so many ideas and I get caught up in having too many ideas so that I can't put any of them into action. But I really do like this project. I did go up a hook size from my previous shawl. I'm pretty sure I did that one on a 5.5. This one I'm only using the 5. As I was trying to figure out what hook size, I started this shawl with a 5.5. And I just didn't enjoy the gauge I was getting. It was too loose, and it kind of made me think that whatever minis I used, they were supposed to be DK weight minis, but they were heavier DK weight, and maybe that was what led to that hook size being better for those yarns than this one, which is a like non-disputable DK. It's a perfect DK, not heavy or light in any way. So I did go down a hook size, and I'm really enjoying it. That is a whip. I do have one more whip hanging out in my basket here, and it needs to be frogged because there was a mistake. I just need to check my gauge to make sure I'm getting the right gauge. I am planning, and this is crazy, I know it's crazy, I'm planning on doing a brioche sweater, because why not? I want to do just a one color brioche sweater, and this was the start of it. I did the math and everything for it, but I'm not liking, I've never done really increases and decreases in brioche before, like in brioche stitch, and I'm trying to do them correctly, but I'm not liking how they're looking, and I'm not quite sure if I'm doing it right, because with brioche you essentially have to knit every round twice to get one row of patterning, and I'm not sure what that means for my increases. Like, should I do it every 3 rows, because I'll do 1 row of brioche knit, 1 row of brioche purl, and then a knit, then increase. Is that how it's done? I don't know, and I keep forgetting when I keep doubting myself every time I come to the increases. So I'm going to frog this and do the increases in knit stitch, which should work in my head, because I've done something similar in the past. But I just need to double check my gauge on this, because even though I did a gauge swatch, I did my lazy gauge swatch, which is I did just enough rows to be able to check gauge and then frogged the swatch. In my defense, I mostly do that because I'm terrified of using too much of my yarn dedicated for my project for the gauge swatch and then not having enough to finish the actual project, which is a silly thing because you should buy enough yarn to, like, you should have enough yarn to do either, to do both, you know, your swatch and the project itself, because you always end up with leftovers anyway. But that's just what I do. So this is the yarn I'm going to be using. It is Yarn Bee ID in the soft shell. It's a super pretty color. I bought this sweater quantity of this color, and then I had this whole doubt about what I wanted to do with it. I'm sorry, I have something in my eye. I had this whole doubt about what I wanted to do with it. I bought it for originally a crochet cardigan, then I decided I didn't want to do that crochet cardigan, and it's been sitting in my stash, and I honestly was thinking about doing a blanket out of it, but now I'm on brioche sweater, so let's hope that this idea comes to fruition. So I only just really started it and did enough to, you can see the brioche. It'll be such a fluffy sweater. I am using quite a big needle tip, a 10 as opposed to, for worsted weight yarns I typically do a 9, so it's not really that big, but it's making such a nice fabric, and have to check it and frog it and restart it. But this has just been sitting in the bottom of my basket because I have not done that yet. Okay, my basket is now empty, so that means all of my whips that were just laying in there are out of there, and I can kind of sort through them. I'm just looking around at the floor at all the stuff that's just laying around. I have so many things I want to do. Again, I feel like I say that all the time. I have so many ideas, so many projects. I want to make more crochet amigurumi. I always say that too. Especially I want to make a Pokemon plush, and I actually bought like kind of the, I guess kind of the basic colors for amigurumi, if that makes sense. Like when you make a plushie or a toy, you know, they're pretty staple colors, I feel like, when you look for amigurumi patterns and things, and I kind of got a collection of those types of colors, and they're sitting in a basket with my amigurumi books, and I want to make amigurumi toys. The problem with that is when you're following amigurumi pattern, or really any pattern, you kind of have to pay attention, especially to increase rates and things, and I just haven't had the mind frame for that. I am at the end of my school session. I'm taking summer college classes, and they are coming to an end, which is great. But just kind of making myself focus on that rather than all the crafts I want to make. So yeah, there's just been a lot of little life things like that happening. So it kind of cuts into the crafting, kind of cuts into the motivation for casting on things to craft on. But it's all good, and it'll all get back under control. I will say in pattern news, like I mentioned earlier, my toe-up shortcut heel sock recipe is going to be releasing soon. Possibly by the time you're seeing this video, the pre-order will already be available. When I release a new pattern, I really like to do a pre-order because that gives me a chance to offer the pattern at a discounted price, but still be fair to me as the designer and you as the purchaser if you're interested in doing a toe-up shortcut heel sock. My shortcut heel is a heel recipe that requires no short rows. It's graded for 5 sizes, and you can do it both in stockinette and garter stitch. I'm really happy to have a toe-up version out there because I personally love doing both cuff down and toe up socks. The reason I've been doing cuff down socks for a really long time is because that was what I first did my shortcut heel in, and I just haven't reverse engineered it, but now I have, and I've heard really great things from my testers. A lot of them agree that the pattern is great if you are new to toe up socks, especially with the toe up cast on I use. I actually have a tutorial about that toe up cast on here on YouTube. It's the easiest, the laziest toe up cast on you will ever do, and it's no fuss, and it's perfect for me who always manages to mess up the admittedly prettier, fancier toe up cast-ons. So that pattern should be out very soon. Be sure to follow me on Instagram so you don't miss out on any news of that pre-order. Also sign up for my newsletter down below so you don't miss out on any details concerning that release. I think that is everything for this podcast episode. Thank you so much for joining me. If you could, take a moment, comment down below something you are working on. I would love to hear about it, and I will see you in the next video. Happy crafting!